This episode is all about slowing down and adding more pleasure to your life. I get to talk with Juliet Lippman, who is an amazing friend, an entrepreneur, a coach, with her master's degree in business administration and a research study in female pleasure from Yale University. She has so much amazing information and energy to share. She currently lives in Amsterdam with her husband, and she shares her work with others in coaching and mentorship programs about how do you live your life turned on. And women who are turned on change the world, and that ripples out not only in the bedroom but to relationships and everywhere. So enjoy this conversation today and share it with anyone you think that it would change their world, increase their pleasure, and the ability to live life turned on with total enjoyment. Welcome to the Shift Your Vibe to Thrive podcast. My name is Emily Evans Russell, and I'm a single mom, multiple six-figure business owner, and master mindset and energy coach. I created this podcast with two main targets. One, to give you practical tools so that no matter where you are in your life right now, you not only know that things can shift, but you know how to make them greater. And two, to change your frequency so that you become an energetic match for everything you desire. I'm talking your relationships, your finances, your success, all of it. Think of this podcast as your weekly energetic upgrade with a mix of subconscious mind hacks, ways to quantum leap, and consciousness shifts. A place where you learn to sculpt your reality and actually finally truly have the magical life you deserve and one that works for uniquely you. Are you ready to uplevel your reality? I think I hear yes, so sit back, relax, and enjoy the ride. Thank you so much for being here. And now let's go to the show. Okay, Juliet. So we were chatting before actually recording the podcast, and you had some great things. And I was like, what would you like to talk about? And you said a woman who chooses what she wants in the bedroom and how she wants to feel in her body changes the world, but it has ripple effects everywhere. Can you say more about that?
Oh, that's so beautiful. Oh my God. Did I say that?
You did say that. I know.
So that's so beautiful. Well, first of all, I'm so happy to be on here and chatting with you, Emily. I think you're amazing. And we started to get to know each other through RRT. And so it's just so fun to be talking with you today. And what you just mentioned about sexuality, a woman choosing her pleasure for herself and the ripple effect it has on the world. Yeah, I mean, it just reminds me, like, I'm sure, Emily, you've seen women walking down the street that just have this thing about them, right? They're enjoying life. They're really, like, let's say the sun is hitting them. They're fully feeling it. They're in the moment. They're just walking with a kind of strut. And you can kind of imagine that this woman, she knows what she wants in the bedroom. She knows what she wants out of the bedroom. She's not afraid to say it. And I think if we go deeper, she's not afraid to get vulnerable. She's not afraid to open up. She claims what she wants. She chooses what she wants. And I think there's so much power in that. And so the bedroom is just literally a metaphor for life. If you can go say what your heart desires, what your pussy desires, what every part of you desires in the bedroom, can you imagine how you are in every other aspect of life? Like, the bedroom is one of the most taboo places. And when you can come from a place of like, hey, with a partner or even with yourself when it comes to self-pleasure, hey, like this, wow, this is actually what my body and what my heart and what my pussy is wanting from me. I'm going to dare to listen, and I'm going to dare to speak what it is that I want. So an example could be, I'm really craving slow sex with my partner. And I think a lot of men learn through pornography to go to Pound Town, and and I also find, I don't know if you've noticed this, Emily, recently on like Netflix, on shows, they're portraying a different type of sex that's more female friendly.
Yeah. And how would you describe that? Because I have two daughters, 11 and 14. And I was asking my older one, somehow the topic of pornography came up. And she was like, well, I know what that is. And I said, okay. Well, and so, that's an example of usually really bad sex. That's what bad's like not
Yeah.
not enjoyable for the woman is like, And I've learned with her, I say just enough when she's done asking questions, we wait till another time. But how would you describe that more female oriented and what that looks like for people that maybe haven't noticed that?
Yeah. So what I've noticed is like a more deep connection, a deeper presence from the man, really intimately in the moment. So that's like eye gazing, slowing down, breathing together, maybe even laughing together, right? It's no longer a performance from both where it's like the woman just needs to look hot and moan her way through it and and create lust from her man. That's not the agenda. There is no agenda. She's just in the moment, having fun, being playful. And the man is really with his woman, just noticing what she's enjoying. And they're just breathing together. And he's just like holding her. And of course, the roles can switch. It doesn't only have to be like the man's holding the woman. The woman can also, you know, dictate what's happening, and she's more in control and she's guiding whatever's happening, and the man can also receive, and that's beautiful. But I've noticed that more and more on being portrayed. I actually have a friend who works at Netflix and she's a content creator, and she says they are really focusing on the female narrative in sexuality and how that's being portrayed. And they've hired sexologists and people who can help them understand what a real orgasm looks like. Like it's not this perfect moan from a woman just receiving. Instead, it's something, sometimes it can be crunchy and her whole body can tense up and she can look ugly and so on and so forth, right? There's so many flavors of what sexuality can look like. So I've just found it interesting that there's now a shift away from just the pornography, the male gaze that we've seen, like starting from, I mean, I'm a 90s baby. So I mean the 90s were extremely toxic for women. Think about like Britney Spears, like she was 15 when the world was sexualizing her.
Yeah.
It's unbelievable. And so I've just seen a shift in the last few years, especially since the Me Too movement, and it's giving me hope. And so when it comes to your daughters, I think there's more and more content for them to see of like female empowerment, healthy sexuality, vulnerability, openness in women and in couples. Yeah, I'm hopeful.
Me too. I'm hopeful. And it's actually really interesting to navigate rather than being like, oh no, they're exposed to all these different things. I'm like, it truly is a different era. So to learn how to navigate that and be so grateful that this shift, because I see it not just in sexuality, but in business and the way women like this shift to include all of those feminine energies. And feminine energies, as you know, and you would say, they're not just in a female body, right? But this balance between feminine and masculine is really showing up everywhere, which I think is exciting to see that shift in the world.
Yeah.
And you said something really cool about the female perspective of there's no agenda and it's just playful. And that is
Yeah.
so different, right? Because I grew up saying like 80s movies, 90s movies, and being like, I don't think I understand sex because that whole performance thing didn't make sense. Didn't make sense to me. And so I was like, I don't think I get this at all. And that playfulness and just no agenda of this is what we're supposed to do and paint by numbers until we reach something that looks like in a movie.
Yeah, like how much more relaxing. That means that you can just be yourself.
Mhm.
Right? You could just, if you are feeling excitement, oh my God, let it wash through your body and show your partner how excited you are in your eyes and your body language and your words, right? However you want to express it in your movements. That's beautiful. Or if you're feeling a little bit melancholic, like how can you embody that? How do you feel that? And any flavor you want to feel. So that's what no agenda feels like to me. It's not like it has to be this perfect pornographic Playboy model vibe. And it's caused a lot of pressure for the guys too. It's all about performance for them and them needing to come. And that's my understanding, at least speaking to many men in my practice. This feeling of like hardcore penetration is because they don't want to lose their focus and they want to get to the end goal, which is to come, which ultimately, from a very primal perspective, that's to procreate, make a baby. And so it's really hardwired in them to be so focused on that goal. And so having no agenda for them can also allow them to fully relax and be present and have fun. And something I practice with my partner is like, we have date nights, but that doesn't mean that it ends up being about sex. And it doesn't mean that the playfulness we have leads to penetration, right? It can just be cuddles and movie night, or just anything that's intimate, anything where the phones are away, we're connected, we're doing, for a man, it's like doing fun activities together. So we like to explore, for that's more for him and his excitement. And that's also, as you were talking about feminine, masculine energy, that's my masculine energy, the explorer.
Yeah.
And then the feminine side of it is, wanting to be vulnerable and be truly present. And that really happens in the realms of when the phones are away, distractions are away, and you can have that moment of opening up and being like, hey, this is what's going on with me. And particularly in my relationship, I've noticed that since I do a lot of the inner healing work and I'm in this world, right? It's what I do all day, every day. And so I can be the one in the past who's really held that energy for us, being like, let's do check-ins. How are you doing? And here's how I'm doing. And so I was holding a lot of that. And recently I've been asking my man to just ask me like, hey, how are you doing? And I had to tell him to do that. And some people say, oh, that's not as much fun. Like there's an example that Dr. John Connolly gave me recently, which is, oh, you tell your man to give you flowers. Well, the next day he brings you flowers and oh, okay, thanks for the flowers. Feels so good. But actually, I know sometimes it doesn't, in our minds, we can think it's not that romantic when we ask someone to do something for us. But I think there's something really powerful. Again, it's that empowered woman that's walking down the street and that ripple effect. She knows what she wants. She's not afraid to ask for it. She's not afraid to say it. And so for me, hey, like I need my man to check in on me. I don't want to hold that energy every time. And so just telling him that, and he wants to do the best he can for me, for us, but he's not afraid to say, hey, like I tell me what you need because I don't know. I can't read your mind.
Right.
You
Yeah.
know?
We can't expect people to read our minds.
Yeah, that's the thing that the feminine, I think however you want to call it, the unhealthy side of the feminine. I don't like to say unhealthy or healthy, but just that's the shadow of the feminine, which is like, yeah, we really want our men to read our mind, and the perfect man will read our mind. He'll be Prince Charming. And it's just not the case. And yeah, I've learned that, yeah, got to ask for what we want and then say it with an open heart, not you did this, you need to do this better, because no one responds well to that, but more in the realms of, I feel like I would really love this, and then it comes across much better.
I love that. I remember, I forget what book I was reading, but they were suggesting, well, if you're playing and experimenting, like asking A or B, which do you like more? Which is so nice rather than don't do this. Or, it's kind of like, which is more fun, A or B? I was like, that's a really good way to not make something, well, this is right, or you're doing this wrong. And I thought that was a lovely tip.
I love that. So you mean if you're talking to your man and you're like, hey, would you rather go to the beach, or would you, just a simple example, would you rather go to the beach or would you rather cook me dinner?
Yeah.
Instead of like, you never cook me dinner, or you better cook me dinner tonight.
Right.
Yeah,
Exactly.
I love that. That's more playful. And yeah, men would definitely respond better to that.
Yeah. And so you've mentioned, you're married, you're in a relationship, and you also work with clients around their sexuality. Can you talk a little bit about your own journey to greater intimacy, greater pleasure for yourself? And then we can talk a bit about how you then use that with your clients and in your practice.
Yeah. And I will say, I mean, it's not like I'm speaking to you now and I'm like, I'm at this perfect place with my intimacy and with my pleasure.
Of
Like,
course not, right?
Emily, it's not true. It's just not true. I work on it. And sometimes we do the work and there's some beautiful moments of, oh my God, so much intimacy, so much pleasure. And then with this type of work, you got to keep at it. Got to keep on opening up, keep on connecting. And I've noticed that in the past, when we get to some goal, like when we achieve some goal, we're really connected. And then I've noticed that in the past, I would kind of let go. I'm like, oh, yeah, we reached the goal, but that's not the work. And so I've learned throughout the years doing it on myself and in partnership is that it takes, yeah, consistency. And yeah, and it's just like there's some beautiful peaks and there are some valleys, and that is the journey of long-term commitment. But yeah, so that's kind of my recent observations. Um, but you were asking me so beautifully.
Well, so with that journey, and I think you stated that so well, because one of the things also, no matter what era you grow up in, we've all watched Disney movies and other movies that are all just this romance, and then the movie ends. Then it's all perfect. And when you have like a marriage, a long-term relationship, it is very different than what we've been exposed to should be perfect or good, or like a target we're supposed to reach that's unattainable. So
Right.
as you've gone on that for you, and like you said, it's ever evolving, what do you love most about working with clients on their journey? And what even is that journey of exploring your sexuality and your body? What does that look like?
Right. I mean, yeah, it's such a good question. I think if you think about just what a business entails, like you're either selling sex, health, or money, especially in the coaching world. It's kind of those three things, right? So in the past, I also work with clients on their business, and I also work with clients on their sexuality. And so when you dive into sexuality, so let's say a client comes to me and say, "Hey, I've had a long-term relationship. I'm feeling like, oh, it's just there's a lot of distrust now. There's been a lot of things that have happened. Perhaps, yeah, there's a lot of guilt, perhaps some shame, and we're just not as connected anymore." Let's just give that as an example. Right. They might come into me. Sorry, I dived in a bit too deep already, but they might come to me and say, "Hey, I want to have better sex." But
Right.
as soon as we start talking, we realize, hey, there's what's underneath that. Okay, so in this example, there was some guilt, some shame, and then those are the things that we work on. And then it's always around the realm of connecting to like, what's the vision of themselves they have for themselves when it comes to their sexuality? Where do they want to be? What's that avatar? What's that highest self vision that's obtainable? And I think what I've noticed with couples and individuals when it comes to their sexuality, sometimes they want to go from where they are now to like the best orgasmic, something like they see in the movies. And what I do is I bridge the gap by bringing them somewhere in the middle so that it's all about this like this middle zone. And then from there, everything else starts falling into place. But I think what's interesting that I've noticed with clients is that whenever we were speaking around this orgasmic sex, it was just too hard for them to reach from where they
Yeah.
were to where they wanted to be. And so it wasn't always as realistic. And so it's like taking those baby steps, like what's the place in the middle that's more obtainable. And from the RRT perspective, right, it's like what is creating interest and appeal, and where are you starting to see opportunities? And from that place, oh my God, from unblocking whatever's there to finally seeing like what is possible for you, oh my God, then you can start to have a lot more fun. Yeah.
Yeah, because I love that perspective. And we can put in the show notes what RRT is, rapid resolution therapy. But one of that perspective of if your mind reads something as impossible, and that idea of here I am at zero and my target is out here at 1,000, the mind was like, well, that's impossible anyway. I'm never going to be that woman that has like multiple orgasms and is so comfortable being naked in front of her partner, whatever it is for the person. And I know we can ask for anything. And if you can see that it's possible for you, but your subconscious will work against you if it's like, that's too far off, like that's not possible anyway. And to bring those little baby steps on board and have that satisfaction of, oh my gosh, I was able to undress in the dark in front of my partner. I don't know, whatever that is, little steps. And then we can get all the way to 1,000 or wherever you desire to go. I think it's such a different way of looking at it.
Right. I'm all about those baby steps and celebrating the little wins. Like that's exactly my coaching philosophy. And it's also interesting, Emily, because like along the journey of those baby steps, you start to notice that 1,000%, that big vision that we have. Is that even what I really wanted? Or is that
Yes.
something that society instilled in me and told me that that's what great sex is? That's what love looks like. That's what will make me happy. And a lot of the times that image is skewed and it's not actually what you want. Because actually, it's funny because a lot of people want is like, it's not to look so hot riding your partner with your six pack glowing in the moonlight, right? It's not actually that, although we have that image because of what society put in us, but it's actually being like all hot and sweaty and having your partner like lick the sweat as it goes down your spine. And you're just like so in the moment together, so present. You know exactly what your partner is, his next move is going to be, and you're moving with him without even realizing it. You're so out of your mind. And like that is actually something what people move towards. And that's really being their most authentic selves.
I love what you just said. That's when you really are out of your mind and into your body. So,
Yeah.
we talked at the beginning about when you see a woman walking down the street that's really present and alive. And a lot of times people will use like a turned on woman, but that doesn't have to do with turned on in the bedroom, right? Can you talk about that gift of when you're really fully alive and turned on, the gift of letting your body take over and lead and give information rather than being all up in your head about, am I doing this right? Is this good enough? Is
Oh yeah, like in life, you mean?
everywhere. Yes, exactly. Life
Right.
and the bedroom, right?
Yeah, I'm just seeing that woman again walking down the street, and that woman could be me, could be you, could be you lovely woman who's listening to this podcast, right? Like it's could be any one of us, and she's just a metaphor for the part of us that's going to the beat of her own drum,
Mhm.
right? Sometimes she wakes up and she looks messy and she enjoys it. And sometimes she wakes up and she makes herself all beautiful and dolled up and she looks so cute in the mirror and she enjoys it. She's just playing in the spectrum of what it means to be a woman every day, allowing, us women, we wake up every day and could be a different woman, right? Where we have
Very
a,
often.
yeah, we look for novelty. We look for desire. It's so funny. I always thought that men were the ones, the hunters, looking for something new. Actually, men typically in relationships, what I've noticed is that they're interested in stability and women are interested in novelty. And funny enough, I have met many more women who have cheated in relationships and looked for something better, or not even cheated, who just wanted something more than
Mhm.
men. Men were generally pretty happy coasting. And I really think this isn't your question. I'll answer your question in a second, but I really think
That's
it's up
great.
to yeah, it's up to us women. They call it the feminine rising, what's been happening since 2012, people in the spiritual world say. But in any case, there's been a lot of movements around the world we can see feminine rising, Me Too, a lot of abortion rights being taken away in the US, but being granted as a constitutional right in France, right? There's a lot of movement right now happening around what it is to be a woman. And it's really up to us right now to be the ones to lead and guide our men. And if we want more, to express it vulnerably with an open heart and to share from I feel, invite him into it instead of fighting him and making him the enemy and he's the bad guy. Masculine's also hurting right now, right? And I think so often as women, we just want to be like, oh, but why do I have to do all the work? Why can't he just get it? Why can't he read our minds, right? We're so frustrated sometimes, but hey, that's our gift. That's our gift. We are the ones to lead the men right now. Yes, we've been suppressed for thousands of years as women, but this is our moment. And so I take that responsibility seriously, especially when it comes to my pleasure and leading my man. And of course, we can always think, oh, the grass could be greener on the other side. There could be a guy who can understand exactly what I want and fuck me exactly how I want to be fucked and know exactly how I want my dinner cooked and et cetera, et cetera. But, what do we have in front of us and how can we express what we want and lead and then allow them to lead us
Yeah,
by
I
leading?
love
Yeah.
that because that leadership in different areas of life, whether it's the bedroom or adventure or health, or we are changing so much all the time, right? And that willingness to be the leader and also be led and have that be a flowing, ever evolving thing is very different than you said than that frustration of like wanting to henpeck of like, but why aren't you doing this or you can't see this rather than, hey, there's going to be times and there's this different thing really going on the planet where I can invite and lead and so can you and it can go back and forth rather than I think the really defined gender roles that we grew up with were very different than now.
Right. It was so static. And as you were talking about feminine and masculine energy, indeed, we all have feminine and masculine energy inside of us. So sometimes we lead our men, sometimes they lead us. Maybe they can lead us in more traditional ways financially, or they can lead us. Maybe your man is more spiritual than you, or he is really good at cooking, or is really loves picking up your children from school. Can he lead the family in that way? And then in other ways, you lead. I think when it comes to our pleasure, it's so important for us to lead the conversation because they don't have our bodies. They don't know what we want. And we need to express that to them.
Yeah.
And it's not just like, hey, I want you to fuck me slower. Going back to that example, it's like they don't understand what that means. It's actually leading by example by you moving your body and say, hey, feel me right now. And you move the body the way you want to be moved and showing him in the moment, and he'll get it. And he wants to please you so badly, so badly. That's their mission.
Right, that's the mission. Use it to your advantage, and play together. And
Yeah.
so I don't know if you have an example or an easy maybe place to start for someone who may be listening, and we've see this woman walking down the street really alive and lit up. And it's so funny you use that as an example, because yesterday I was driving down one of the streets in our town with my daughter, and there was just this beautiful woman that stood out on the side of the road, and I was like, wow. And she just had this glow. It wasn't that she was technically super beautiful, she was
Yes.
glowing. And then I was driving, so I was more looking ahead, and my daughter said, oh, there's actually someone with her, she's doing a photo shoot. Oh, she's in that energy of like, I'm ready to be seen and
Oh, I love
show
it.
up. And I could pick it up just from glancing up the side of the window. So for women
Mm.
that are like, okay, how do you start that journey to really, like, where we began our conversation of, okay, when you know what you want in the bedroom, in your body, you can start being lit up in all the ripple areas of your life.
Yeah.
What's something easy? Is there a practice or something a woman can play with to begin that, if that feels a little bit like, yeah, most of the time I'm not feeling like that, or I'd like to more, like I get that and I'd like to have that more.
Right. And I think like this whole conversation is around the metaphor of using the bedroom for claiming what you want and getting that glow. And that has a ripple effect on the way you walk down the street, on the way you do your work, on the way people receive you, on the way you cook for your kids, right? So it's just an example, but yeah. So what is that energy? How to harness it? Why is the bedroom a good place? And what particularly can we do in the bedroom to start playing with that energy? That's a really good question. Um, yeah, I always feel like it's really important to do a check-in with yourself. So first, I mean, there's many practices you can do for this. I'll give you two. One is getting a beautiful sensual playlist. I have one. You can find it on my website. I'll do the link for this.
We'll link to it. Awesome.
We'll link
Okay.
to it. Yes, it's a great playlist. And close the lights, maybe light some candles, have some essential oils, maybe some ylang ylang. That's a very sensual oil, and start to move your body to the beat of the song and reconnect to yourself in that way and just move to the beat of the drum, the beat of your own drum, and just allow your body to express itself. Maybe you'll start to dance sensually, maybe you'll start to cry. I don't know what will come up, but this is a good way to start feeling, what am I feeling when it comes to exploring my body and my emotions and my sensuality, and just really giving yourself sacred time. It's like a date with yourself, maybe pouring yourself a beautiful cocktail or mocktail and just getting in there. And then after that, journaling on what came up. How was that for you? Another good activity is to get fully naked in front of the mirror and eye gaze with yourself for 5 minutes. See what comes up when you look at your beautiful naked self, right? What feelings and emotions come up? Journal what came up afterwards. Check in with yourself. And so that's like a very foundational place to start. That's even before you come to your partner or before you start showing him how you want to be, written. Like you need to, yes, this is like pretty foundational. And I mean, something I do with myself, like I love baths. I'm a bath girl and
Me
I
too.
love to, yes, love a good bath. So yummy. And I pour oil on my body before I have a ritual. I pour oil, play beautiful angelic frequencies, and I just get in the bath and feel what's going on with myself. I perhaps tap the places in my body that are feeling pain and just a good check-in, So where can you be connected with your body, with yourself, what's going on inside of you? And then from there, from that check-in, what I like to do is if I start touching myself in a sensual way, so self-pleasure, I think, is so foundational when it comes to knowing what you want in the bedroom with a partner, because it all starts with you and
Yeah.
knowing, there's a famous book, She Comes First. Like it's just a great book. Understanding your own pleasure. So starting to just touch yourself, not needing to penetrate, but just starting to see, hey, where do I want to be touched right now? And where do I not want to be touched? What's a yes? What's a no? And you can just do this exercise of like, yes, arms, yes, elbows, yes, hands, yes, belly, no, vulva. Oh, okay. No for today. And start to play with that energy. And then you can start slowly building pleasure with your hands, with a jade egg, with a toy or a stone toy. Those are beautiful. And then start to play with, okay, what feels good? What doesn't? What's a yes? What's a no? Building that up. And what that does is when we talk about that ripple effect is, first of all, you're able to know what are your yeses and your nos. Then you're able to show your partner by demonstrating what feels good and what doesn't, what turns you on and what doesn't. And you don't even have to be in your head about that. We were talking about just being really playful, no agenda. Your body knows now because you've practiced on your own. And so that playfulness can come out because you're just leading by example. You're having fun. You're inviting your partner in. You don't even need the right words. You don't even need to plan it or think about it because you've done the practice on your own. I'm such a fan of self-pleasure and self-practice and bringing that in and leading by example again, what we spoke about with the feminine leading. And it doesn't have to be this intense, like, I'm in my masculine and and this is what I want and you better give it to me, or this pushy energy of like, yeah. And so all of that and what that does is it's giving you amazing vulnerability, openness, and you getting what you want in the bedroom. B, it's helping your partner know what you want, and thus he or she is able to please you more. It's no longer this mystery. And how that affects the rest of your life is that, wow, like I always say, like a well-fucked woman is good for the world. Why is that? Because she's the one walking down the street who's like, I feel good in my skin. I feel yummy. I'm not feeling insecure. I'm not feeling angry because I'm not getting fucked right. I'm not angry with the world. I'm so deeply present with myself and my pleasure. And I can bring that energy to the random guy at the bakery that I buy a croissant from. I'm just smiling at him and I'm just feeling really full. And let's say it's this playful energy. I'm on a client call and I'm just giggly. I'm just happy and I'm giving her this good energy. It's good for the world. Or even if you have children, your children seeing mama feeling satisfied and yummy in her body. I mean, what an amazing message to send to our daughters, our sons, right? This is just so powerful. And so, yeah, I'm so glad you asked that question.
Thank you for that beautiful response. And I think that's so key when you speak about you can be in a relationship or when you really have this self-pleasure practice, you can walk around the world, as you said, well fucked and satisfied. And that might be just with yourself at the moment, because that's so new. And I love that when you explain, it's so key, the self-pleasure practice. I know this is my biology brain, but how can we expect a man? I think they say it's about the clitoris is 6 to 10 times more sensitive than a man's penis. So they're used to using more pressure. Like that for their body works. So how would we assume like that lighter, whatever that is for your body, but a lighter touch when you have more nerve endings, it is just going to be different. And I know as a woman, to really take time for yourself where that like rubbing massage oil on you and just touching yourself without an agenda of I need to have an orgasm or is so different because it's just taking time with you and your body. There's not a I have to reach this. It's playful again, and it's time for you, which we so often don't take when we're doing everything all the time for everybody else or busy doing things for us even. But it's such a different non-productive time, right?
Right. And that's such a beautiful time to be with yourself. And there's so many things. I think the more responsibilities we have, the busier we are, the more we think, oh my God, okay, if I only have like 30 minutes or an hour to myself today, how am I going to use it? And a lot of people think, oh, I'm going to work out because outer appearances and also the way you feel inside your body matters a lot. Or I'm going to do the laundry. Like basic things need to get done indeed. But if you only have an hour, and let's say you only realistically have 5 minutes a day where you can actually drop in, let's just say what to do. Well, I think being in the shower, going slow. How can you go 4 times slower when you're putting on that body wash? Ooh, how can you smell it? How can you just really honor your body and feel your luscious curves as you're showering and you're smelling the fragrances and you're feeling the moisture in the air, right? Just in that moment, how can you go even a bit slower and a bit more sensually and give yourself that moment of like honoring the body and giving yourself pleasure? Doesn't mean penetration. It means like, how can you make your skin feel like as you're putting on that body wash, even giving yourself little goosebumps, right? Because it feels so good. And you can give yourself that. Of course, I recommend doing those amazing practices, the date nights with yourself or with a partner, where you can spend an hour or hours. But yeah, for the day to day, there are all these moments to weave in pleasure, weave in this thing they called self-love, and yeah, and connect to yourself that way. And I guarantee you, when you can just go slow with no agenda, just slow down, it's just will set your day off in a completely different direction.
Wow. That is, and that applies so beautifully said, Juliet, and that applies to so many areas. Slow down with no agenda. And that's going to be a completely different world that shows up around you from being that energy, whether it's in business, with your family, with your body, with your love, all of it. Yeah.
Yes. And like our nervous systems have all these triggers and responses all day long. And how can you just, I like to just get myself off of that roller coaster, take some deep breaths, go slow, and you can be sensual with your skin and your arms on your body. And that will help you ground back down and lower your heart rate, right? This pleasure has a ripple effect in every way. So, yeah.
It's so wonderful to talk with you. Even just the cadence of your voice and all this information, like I'm feeling so yummy. So how can, if people listening want to reach out to you, where can they find you or what do you have going on?
Yeah, so you can always reach out to me on Instagram or my website. And coming up, there will be some RRT, rapid resolution therapy, and intimacy workshops around intimacy and sexuality. And so check those out as well. And I'm always available if you just want to reach out, say hi.
Wonderful. We'll put all the links to those below. Thank you so much, Juliet.
Thank you so much, Emily. I had so much fun.
Me too. And we'll put all the links below. Thank you all.
Yay. Thank you.
I hope you got something out of that episode. If you like this podcast, please share it with someone you know who'd find it useful or interesting, and subscribe so that you can listen to past and upcoming shows.